Hi, this is Krista at The Secret Yarnery. Today we are making this stunning Frankly Circles blanket. You will absolutely adore this blanket. It looks super complicated, but it just uses basic crochet stitches. And in this tutorial, I'm going to walk you through step by step so even a beginner can do it. I made mine to fit the top of a queen-size bed, but you could make yours any size you like. All you have to do is make sure all your corners have a big circle. To make my queen-size blanket, you will need 72 large circles and 71 small circles. And to make a twin size, you will need to make 39 big circles and 38 small circles. You will need 6 different colors for your circles, plus white and a neutral joining color. For twin size, that's about 100 grams of each of your colors, including white, and 800 grams of a neutral joining color. And for queen, you'll need 200 grams of each color, including your white, and 1,600 grams of neutral. That does not include a border. Border is going to be in a separate tutorial. I'm using Saver from Ice Yarns. It is a 4-weight worsted acrylic yarn, or a 10-ply if you're in Australia. And in this tutorial, I'm using a 7mm crochet hook, but apparently I started this blanket with a 6mm hook, so you can use whichever hook size goes along with your yarn. And yes, if you'd like to follow along with a written pattern, they're available over on my website, secretyarnery.com. And you don't have to worry about being able to read a pattern. All of my patterns are written in plain English, just like I was sitting there right beside you. Here are the timestamps. You can jump back into where you left off, and let's get started. To start your large circle for your Frankly Circles blanket, just take your center color and make a slip knot, any which way you normally do. Shrink it down and pop it onto your hook, and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to make a ring, so we're just going to go into this very first chain we made right there and slip stitch to form a ring, but we're not going to rush. We're going to get ourselves situated first. So we want to make a little U shape underneath our hook with our working yarn going along with it. And we want to slip stitch with both strands to form a ring, but I'm holding it open with my finger and thumb, and we are not letting go. We're holding on to that. So chain 1, and we're going to do 7 single crochets into the center of that ring, going over our tail. So there is 1, 2, and now you can let go of the center. We just keep working around. 7 single crochets. So there's 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now we're going to slip stitch to our first single crochet to join, which is right there a little bit on the hill. So slip stitch into the first single crochet to join. And chain 2. 1 and 2. Now we're going to skip over into this stitch over here and make 1 single crochet. Chain 1 and 1 single crochet into the next stitch. So all of our stitches are facing up. We're going to be working into each of them, making a single crochet, chain 1, and single crochet into the next stitch, chain 1, and single crochet into the next stitch, chain 1, all the way around. We're making these little chain 1 spaces, and we want 8 of them. So single crochet, chain 1, and single crochet, chain 1, all the way around. When we get back to where we started, we're making our last single crochet right at the join, right into that last kind of stitch. So 1 single crochet, chain 1, and we're going to slip stitch to our chain 1 to join. So just that little stitch down at the bottom Take your time to find it. We want to pull it up because we want to keep that chain space free and available on the other side. So we're just going to go into that very first chain, just at the bottom, to make it look like a single crochet. So slip stitch and chain 1. Now go ahead and cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. And that finishes your first color. Now, if you are making a lot of these, if you are doing the whole blanket, go ahead and make 5 or 6 of each color. We need a total of 39 of these big blocks. That is for twin size, so half the size of my blanket, or you can make 72 if you are making it bigger. So I would do 6 of the dark blue, 6 of the medium blue, 6 of the light blue, 6 of the dark red, 6 of the medium pink, and 6 of the cantaloupe, or whatever colors you're using. So I would have my 36 centers ready before I move on to the next round. But for the tutorial, go ahead, keep working with me on one of these. Then when you're making your blanket, take your 6 centers, just pretend there's more of them here, and then make 2 with the pink for your next round, make 2 with your red for the next round, and make 2 with your cantaloupe for the next round. And that way you even out your color combinations and you don't end up making a whole bunch of ones that you really like that kind of match. Are you enjoying this tutorial? Go ahead and hit this button under this video right now so you don't miss out on any more quick and easy fun tutorials just like this. So to start your second color, just pop your hook in. We're going to look for one of these chain spaces. Just pop your hook in and get your next color, loop of yarn on your hook, bring it through, slip stitch with both strands to join, and drop your tail just holding it along the edge of your work, and chain 2. 1 and 2. So this counts as our first double crochet. Wrap your yarn and 2 more double crochets into that same space. 1 and 2. And if I'm going too fast, slow me down. Just hit that gear down below and slow me down. You can speed me up to double time and you can slow me down also. So go ahead and adjust your speed down below. You can also pause the video and get caught up. So now wrap your yarn and into the next chain 1 space, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3, and into the next chain space, 3 double crochets. So we're just working around our ring, working around our circle, doing 3 double crochets into each space. So in between each single crochet of the row below. So there is the space. Wrap your yarn and 3 double crochets into the space. So you can pause the video and keep working along, 3 double crochets into each space, just using your finger to find that big spot for your 3 double crochets all the way around your circle. So pause the video, keep going around, and I'll meet you when we get back to where we started. When you get to your join, you can count how many shells you have. We want a total of 8. So I have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I need to put 2 up here. So there's a space before the join, and there's also a space after the join. So just keep an eye. That's why I like to join just after, or join my new yarn just after my old join. You can always adjust in this area. So that's an easy fix. So keep going. You want a total of 8 sets of 3 double crochets. I will meet you when I have done one more shell. So now we're back at where we joined, and we are going to slip stitch in to the top of this chain 3 to join right there. So just pop your hook in and slip stitch and chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail. We have a lot of tails to sew in, but it's so worth it for this blanket. But leave yourself enough yarn. You don't want to be struggling with super short tails. And that finishes your second color. To start your third color, just pop your hook in to any space. I'm just going to go into the space after my join. Grab your next color of yarn, loop on your hook, bring it through, and slip stitch with both strands to join, and drop your tail. See, that tail is a bit short for me. I don't want to be stressed out sewing in my tails. That's going to make it a little bit longer before I get going. So slip stitch with both strands to join. Check that your tail's long enough and just hold it along the top of your work. We can work over it for a couple stitches. Chain 2, 1 and 2, and make one more double crochet into that same space. Well, we could work over it for one stitch. Now we have to drop it and sew it in later. Now we're going to go into this center stitch, the center double crochet. So just line up your crochet hook or your needle and just push it down when you get to the top of that stitch, and it'll automatically pick up those 2 loops. That's where you need to be working into. So into that center stitch, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, and into the space, 2 double crochets. 1 and 2, and now into that center stitch again, right there, we're going to do our 2 double crochets. So we're going into the space between, and we're also going into the middle. So 2 double crochets into the middle, and 2 double crochets into the space. 1 and 2. So now you can pause the video and keep working along. 2 double crochets into that center stitch in the middle, and 2 double crochets into the space all the way along around your work, and I'll meet you when we get back to where we started. When we get back to where we started, we're just going to slip stitch to the top of that chain to join. Just right there. So just pop your hook in and slip stitch to join. Chain 1 to secure your yarn, and cut your yarn, again, leaving a long enough tail. Pull your hook up and your yarn through, and snug that down to secure, and that finishes your 3rd color. To start color 4, just pop your hook in to any space, it doesn't matter which one. Grab your next color of yarn, loop of yarn on your hook, bring it through, and slip stitch with both strands to join. Drop your tail, just holding it along the back of your work. We can't work over this one, so we're just going to hold it behind and sew it in later. And chain 2, 1 and 2. Into the next space, 1 single crochet. Chain 1. Into the next space, 1 single crochet. Chain 1, and that's what we're going to do for this whole round. 1 single crochet and a chain 1 into every space. So there's my chain 1 and my single crochet into the space. So chain 1, single crochet into the space, chain 1, single crochet into the space, all the way around. So you can pause the video and I'll meet you when you get back to where we started. When you are getting back to where you started, yours can be dishing up like mine. Don't worry about it. We just want a small little space for our next round. So it'll flatten out. Don't worry about it. We're going to slip stitch into that second stitch or that first chain right there. I'm going to go into that chain to join. So we're going to slip stitch. So I've done my chain 1 already. We're going to slip stitch into that second chain. We're going to chain 1 to secure our yarn. We're going to cut our yarn and then pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. And that finishes the 4th color. To start your 5th color, just pop your hook in to any space. So any space on top of those double crochets from below and under the chain above. Doesn't matter where. Just pop your hook in, grab your next color of yarn, loop of yarn on your hook, bring it through and slip stitch with both strands to join. Drop your tail. We can work over it for a couple stitches, so just hold it along the top of your work and chain 2, 1 and 2. Into that very same space, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, And now into the next space right over here, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And into each space all the way along, we're going to do 3 double crochets into each. So you can pause the video and keep working along. 3 double crochets into each space, each chain space, all the way around this round. So each one of these spaces gets 3 double crochets all the way around, and I will meet you when you get back to where we started. So there we go. We are right back where we started, right there. So we're just going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3 to join. We want 2 strands of that chain on the top of our hook. So just pop your hook in, 2 strands on the top, and slip stitch to join. Chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to comfortably sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. And that finishes your 5th color. To start round 6 or your last color, just pop your hook in to, again, any space. Anywhere between any of these 3 double crochets, doesn't matter where. Just pop your hook in and loop of your last color. So we're just using each color once for each of our circles. Bring your yarn through and slip stitch with both strands to join. Drop your tail, just holding it along the back of your work. We cannot work over it for this round. And chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. So that counts as a single crochet and a chain 3. And now into the next space, right here, 1 single crochet. Chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and into the next space, 1 single crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and into the next space, 1 single crochet, chain 3, and 1 single crochet into the next space. So you can pause the video and keep working all the way around, doing a single crochet and a chain 3 all the way around, and I'll meet you when we get back to where we started. When you get back to where you started, I've done my chain 3, and now we are going to slip stitch into 2 strands of this first chain. Just pick up 2 strands of that first chain right there. That is where we're going to slip stitch, just to make everything match and look like it was a single crochet. So just slide your hook in. You want at least 2 strands on the top of your hook. Get your tension back and slip stitch to join. And chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through, and snug that down to secure. And that finishes our large motif, or our big circle for the Frankly circles. You'll just need 3 colors of yarn for this small circle, and the second row is always going to be white for all of your circles. So this is when we're going to be using our white yarn. So we're going to do the same as we did for our larger circles. We're going to start and make 6 of each of our colors for the center, and then white for all of them for the second round. And then the outside color, we'll make 6 circles in each color, just changing up our centers. So just grab your yarn, make a slip knot any which way you normally do. Shrink that down and pop it onto your hook. And chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to make a ring, which I'm sure you know how to do by now, but just pop your hook straight into that first chain right there. Pop your hook in, get yourself situated. We want a nice little U underneath our ring. Slip stitch to finish it off, still holding it open, and chain 1. And now we're going to do 7 single crochets into the center of that ring. 7 single crochets. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, just like that. And now we're going to slip stitch to join. So I'm going to slip stitch right into the top of that first real single crochet, that first real stitch at the top. So just pop your hook in, slip stitch to join, and chain 2. 1 and 2. Now into this next stitch, right there, 1 single crochet, chain 1, into the next stitch, 1 single crochet, chain 1, and just keep doing that all the way around. A single crochet and a chain 1 into each stitch all the way around our ring. Now our last spot, our last stitch is right there. So this is our little join, our little chain is right there. We're going to go right into that stitch at the bottom of our chain for our last single crochet and chain 1. Just like that. And now we're going to slip stitch to join. So just wiggle yourself around. We want to find that very first chain we made. So we did a chain 2 to start. So there is our second chain at the top. We want to go right into this first chain. We want 2 strands on the top of our hook. We're just going to slip stitch right into there. Let's pop your hook in and slip stitch to join. Chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. If you worked over your tail, we can cut that one off just so it stays a little out of our way. And now go ahead and make 39 of these. I just do 6 of each color, so actually I make 36, but 39 is the right number. So you could make 6 of each of your colors, except for one, you only make 5. To start the next round, just pop your hook into any of those chain spaces, just into the space. Grab your white yarn. This is our little pop. Bring it through and slip stitch with both strands to join. Drop your tail. We can work over it for a couple stitches. Chain 2, 1 and 2. This counts as our first double crochet, and if you join your yarn in a different way, you can do a chain 3. Into that very same space, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. So that counts as our first 3 double crochets. Into the next space, just wiggle your fingers to find those spaces. 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to do that into each of these chain spaces all the way around. So you can pause the video and get caught up. 3 double crochets into each of these spaces all the way around our circle. It'll be just like that, so keep going all the way around, and I'll meet you when we get back to where we started. So there we have our 8 shells into our 8 spaces, and we're going to slip stitch to the top of our chain to join. So we're just going to slip stitch right into the top of that chain. We want 2 strands of that stitch on the top of our hook. Slip stitch to join, and chain 1. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through, and snug that down to secure. So now you can go ahead and do this round on all of your centers. So they'll all be white yarn for this round. To start the last round, pop your hook into any of those spaces. Doesn't matter which one. Grab your next color. So if you did a warm color for your center, you'll do a cool color for the outside, or whichever way you're doing it. If you started with a cool color, do a warm color for the outside. Loop of your new color on your hook. Bring it through that space and slip stitch with both strands to join. Drop your tail along the back of your work. We're going to have to sew that one in later. And chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Into the next space, 1 single crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and into the next space, 1 single crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and into the next space, 1 single crochet. So you can pause the video and keep working along. 1 single crochet into the space with a chain 3, and then a single crochet into the next space with a chain 3, all the way around. I'll meet you when we get back to where we started. When you get back to where we started, we're going to slip stitch into the legs of that very first stitch to join. So just down here into those legs, it's going to go in and slip stitch. Chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to comfortably sew in later. We don't need to be stressed out about a short tail. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. So now finish up making your 35 small centers. Now we're going to be doing join as you go, which is super easy and you can totally do it. I'm going to show you how to do it step by step. It saves you a lot of time and it gives you a nice result. Everything is just as stretchy as next door. So there's not like any tight spots or any super loose spots, which is why I really like this technique. So go ahead and get your big circles and get your small circles, and we're going to start. So lay out your circles row by row, and we're going to start with a big circle, small, big, small, big, small, big, always ending with a big. And my first row is going to have 6 across. It just doesn't fit underneath the camera right here. But 6 big squares across and 5 little guys. Then the next row is going to have 6 little guys and 5 big guys. Then we're going to alternate those rows until we have used up all of our squares. And each corner of your blanket, you want to have a big square. So we're having big squares in our corners, no matter what. So this is just a small sample, but it'll look just like this, except you'll have more rows. So big circles in the corners and little circles in between. So lay out all of your circles so that you like how it is. You don't want to have like 2 matching circles side by side. So just kind of swap everything around until you like how it looks. Then when you're happy with how it looks, you like the order of everything, just stack up your circles per row. Just like that. So that would be my first row. And my second row. And my third row. Now you can keep them in order, just put them, you can put them in baggies or you can just put them aside, just keeping the order that you like them in. And grab the first row or your top row of your blanket. We are going to start with this big block right here, or this big circle. Grab your first circle and your joining color and your crochet hook. And we're just going to start in any particular space, any of these spaces along the circle. Just pop your hook in, loop of your joining color on your hook, and slip stitch with both strands to join. And drop your tail. We can hold it along the top edge of our work, and we can work over that a little bit. And chain 2. 1 and 2. So this counts as our first double crochet, and 2 more double crochets into that same space. 1 and 2. Into the next space, 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and into the next space we're going to do a corner. So corners, 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. So there is 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2, 1 and 2, and 3 more double crochets into that same space. 1, 2, and 3. Into the next space, 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And into the next space, a corner. 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and 3 more double crochets into that same space. 1, 2, and 3. So you can pause the video and keep working around, alternating doing 4 double crochets and then a corner, 4 double crochets and a corner, 4 double crochets and a corner, all the way around. And just remember your corners, 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. So pause the video, keep working your way around, and I'll meet you when we get back to where we started. When you get back to where we started, into that same space, just slide those first stitches forward so you have a little bit more room along that chain. And we're going to finish with 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2. 1 and 2, and we're going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3 to join. So just pop your hook into the top of that chain, 2 strands of that stitch on the top of your hook, and slip stitch to join, and chain 1. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through, and snug that down to secure. And that finishes our first block. Now take your next block, your small circle, and we are going to join this one as you go, but I'll show you how to do it step by step. So don't worry, pop your hook in to any space, loop of your joining color on your hook, bring it through and slip stitch with both strands to join. Drop your tail just holding along the top of your work, and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. So this counts as our first treble crochet. Wrap your yarn and 2 double crochets into that same corner space, or the space that's going to be a corner, a future corner, just like that. Into the next space, we're going to do 4 single crochets. So 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Into the next space, we're going to do a corner. So start with 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. Then 1 treble crochet, so wrap your yarn twice. 1 treble crochet. Chain 2, 1 and 2, wrap your yarn twice, and 1 more treble crochet, and 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. Into this space along the side, or the next space, 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Into the next space, we're going to start our corner. So 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, 1 treble crochet, just like that. And now we are going to join. So chain 1, bring your first finished circle above you, above your work surface, and we are going to go down into that corner space, any corner space of your finished circle, just down into that space and grab your yarn. We are going to slip stitch to join. So we're going to bring that yarn through and slip stitch to join. Just like that. Wrap your yarn twice, 1 treble crochet into the block you're working on. And 2 double crochets to finish off that corner. 1 and 2. So now lay your work out again nice and flat. Make sure it's not twisted. We want our pretty side facing up. And now we're going to go into the space in between, so after our corner and before our side, just into this space. You can also look where your single crochets are from the row below. We're going to join right underneath those. So pop your hook in underneath your work, grab your yarn and bring it through, and slip stitch to join, just like that. And now into the side of our block we are joining, we'll do our 4 single crochets. So there is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Get yourself situated again. Make sure your pretty stitches are facing up on the blocks we are joining to, or the block we are joining to, and hook down into that next space, right underneath that single crochet. Hook down and under, grab your yarn and bring it through, and slip stitch to join. Into that space, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, 1 treble crochet, so wrap your yarn twice, 1 treble crochet. Get yourself situated, and we're going to go down into this corner space. So into that corner space, grab your yarn and bring it through and slip stitch to join, and chain 1. So now we're finished joining. These 2 blocks are joined. Now we're just going to finish our circle here, our small circle. So to finish this corner that we're working on, 1 treble crochet, so wrap your yarn twice, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, and into the space along the side, 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now into the space where we started, just slide those stitches forward so you have some more space for your stitches to lay down nice and flat. We're going to start with 2 double crochets. 1 and 2, 1 treble crochet, so wrap your yarn twice, 1 treble crochet, chain 2, 1 and 2, and we're going to slip stitch to the top of that chain 3 to join. So just pop your hook in. You want 2 strands of that chain on the top of your hook and slip stitch to join. Chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. And now we've joined our first 2 circles. So now grab your next circle. Insert your hook into any space, loop of yarn on your hook, bring it through and slip stitch with both strands to join. Drop your tail, just holding it along the top of your work, and chain 2. 1 and 2. Wrap your yarn and into the same space, 2 double crochets. Working over that tail. Into the next space, 4 double crochets. There is 2, 3, and 4. And into the next space, we're going to do a corner. So exactly as we did before, alternating our corners and our sets of 4 double crochets. So corners are 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets all into the same space. So there's our 3 double crochets, chain 2, slide those stitches back if you need some more room, and 3 more double crochets into that same space. 1, 2, and 3. So you can pause the video and keep working along, alternating between doing a corner and 4 double crochets all the way around until you have 4 empty spaces. So I'll meet you back when you have 4 empty spaces. When you have 4 empty spaces left, this is when we're going to start doing our join. So get the block you have completed just sitting above you in your workspace or on your table, and the block we are joining right in front of you. Now into the next space, we're going to start our corner. So 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3, and chain 1. Now into the corner of the block we have finished, just going to pop our hook down into that corner space. Bring our yarn back up and through, and slip stitch to join. Now into the block we are joining 3 double crochets just to finish that corner. 1, 2, and 3. And into the block we have finished, we're just going to go in after that corner. So right where that single crochet is, that marks the spot, just pop your hook down and bring your yarn up, through, and slip stitch to join. Just like that. Now into our next space, we're going to do a side. So sides, 4 double crochets for the big block. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And don't forget, if I'm going too fast, you can adjust me with that gear setting underneath this video or on this video. Now get yourself situated again. We're going in to the next space in between those stitches right there. Pop your hook down into that next space, right where that single crochet is, into that space. Grab your yarn and bring it through and slip stitch to join. Wrap your yarn and into the next space of the block we are working on, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Get yourself situated, so lay your joined work up above you and pop your hook down into the corner space of the block you have finished. Bring your yarn up and through and slip stitch to join and chain 1. So now we have finished joining. Now we're just going to finish up our block. So to finish our corner, 3 double crochets into that same corner space, right where we are working. There is 1, 2, and 3. And into the space along the side, 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we're right back to where we started. So slide those stitches forward to give yourself some more room in that next space. And we're going to finish with 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2, 1 and 2, and we're going to slip stitch into the top of that chain to join. I'm going to slip stitch to join. Just like that, and chain 1. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through, and snug that down to secure. So keep working along, joining your small circle and then a big circle, small circle, big circle, small circle, big circle, until you have joined up all the circles for your first row. And remember, we're starting and ending with a big circle. So pause the video, join up your first row, and I will meet you back when we are joining our second row. So when you have joined up all 6 of your big squares, starting and ending with your big squares, we are ready to join or start joining the second row. To start joining our second row, take your first big block. It's going to go right in here, and do your joining color, leaving 6 of these spaces open. So you can pause the video and get joining up on your next circle. So just start with your joining color, the same as we always have, and we're going to be leaving 6 of these spaces empty. So leave 6 spaces empty, and I will meet you back when we are ready to start joining right here. When you have 6 spaces empty, you've joined the rest of the way around, we're just going to start our first corner with our 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3, and chain 1. So now we are ready to start joining. So into this corner down here, just put your hook down into that corner space, grab your yarn and bring it through, and slip stitch to join. Now we're going to finish off this corner with 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And I'm just letting what we have joined, I'm just letting it hang down underneath. I'm not like holding everything. Just let it be. We're just holding what we are working on. So I've done my 3 double crochets to finish that corner. So now get yourself situated, get everything laying down nice and flat. And we're going to be going into this space right there. So right where our single crochet is, just into that space. Bring your yarn up and through and slip stitch. And into the space along the side, the next space, 4 double crochets. So just let your big work hang there or lay there while you work on the block you are joining. So there is our 4 double crochets. Now get everything laying down nice and flat. We want to make sure we're joining into the right spot. So bring your hook forward so we're not having any work covering anything up. And we can look for that next spot where that next single crochet is. We're just going to go right into that space and bring your yarn up and slip stitch with both strands to join. Slip stitch. Now into our next space, we're going to start our corner. So 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3, and chain 1. Get everything laying flat again. And now we're going to go right into this space in between those blocks, just into the space. Grab your yarn, bring it through, and slip stitch to join. And into the very same space we are working in, we're going to finish our corner with 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Get yourself situated into our next space. So right where that single crochet is, pop your hook into the space, bring your yarn up and slip stitch with both to join. And into the next space on the block we are joining, 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Get yourself situated into the next space. So this guy right here, we're going to pop our hook down and bring our yarn up and slip stitch to join. And into the next space, we're going to start our corner. So 3 double crochets into the next space just to start our corner. There is 2. And there is 3. And now we're going to go into that space between the blocks. Just into that space in between. Bring your yarn up and slip stitch and chain 1. Into that very same space, 3 double crochets to finish that corner. 1, 2, and 3. Again, get yourself situated or arranged. Have your finished work laying down nice and flat. Look for that next spot where that single crochet is, just into that space. Bring your yarn up and slip stitch. Wrap your yarn and into the next space on the block we are working on, 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Into the next space of our block, right here. Bring your yarn up and slip stitch to join. And into the block we are working on, 3 double crochets to work on that corner. There is 1, 2, and 3. And now into our finished block, just go into that corner space and slip stitch to join and chain 1. Now we're going to slip stitch into the top of our chain 3 to join. So just pop your hook into the top of that chain 3 and slip stitch to join. Chain 1 to secure your yarn. Look at that, so beautiful. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. So now pause the video and keep working along, joining all of your circles, your big circles, into your cubbies, into these spots where our small circles are. And then I will meet you back and we will start joining our small circles. So now that all of your big circles are joined, we're going to go in and do our small circles or fill in these squares. So get your small circles and just make sure that you know which order they're going in or where they're going to be going. We're going to start by joining on 2 sides, and the rest we're going to be joining on 3 sides. So all the rest are going to be 3 sides all the way down our row. So we're going to start here and we're going to join on 2 sides. So take your small circle, just pop your hook in to any of those spaces. A loop of your joining color on your hook. slip stitch with both strands to join, and drop your tail, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. So this counts as our first treble crochet. Wrap your yarn and 2 double crochets into that same space. 1 and 2 into the space along the side for single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and into the next space we're going to do a corner. So starts with 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, 1 treble crochet, so wrap your yarn twice, 1 treble crochet. So that's what we're going to do for our small circles. Now we're going to go ahead and get your finished work ready. We're joining in to this spot here on these 2 sides. So into this first space, hook down into that corner space, grab your yarn and slip stitch and chain 1. Wrap your yarn twice and into that same space, 1 treble crochet and 2 double crochets. So just finishing up that corner. Just like that. Now put your work nice and flat so we can see where we're going, and make sure it's not twisted. We want to make sure we start working in to the front of our work. And we're just going to go into the space right after the corner of the block we have finished. So hook down into that space, bring that yarn up, and slip stitch. And into the next space on the block we are working on 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Lay everything nice and flat. Look for that next space right where that single crochet is. Just into the space, slip stitch, so bring the yarn up and through. And into the next space, we're going to start our corner. So 2 double crochets and 1 treble crochet. So there is our 2 double crochets, and here is our treble crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Now in between the blocks right here, in between this space or in between both of those blocks, we're just going to slip stitch. So pop your hook down into that space, bring your yarn up and through, and slip stitch with both strands to join, and chain 1. Now we're going to finish this corner, so 1 treble crochet and 2 double crochets, all into that same space that we're working in. So there is 1 treble crochet, and now 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. You can always pause the video if I'm going too fast, or slow me down. And now into the space right where that next single crochet is, just into the space, slip stitch. Into the space of the block we are working on, 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Into this next space right there, we're going to slip stitch to join into the block that we have finished. So slip stitch. And now we're going to start our corner. So 2 double crochets and 1 treble crochet. There is 1 double crochet. There is 2 double crochets. Wrap your yarn twice and 1 treble crochet. And now we're going to slip stitch to join. So slip stitch into that corner space of the block we have finished. slip stitch, and chain 1. And now we're just going to finish this circle, or finish this side. So 1 treble crochet, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. Into the next space on the block we're working on, 4 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And into that space where we began, 2 double crochets and 1 treble crochet. So there's 1 double. There's our second double. Wrap your yarn twice and 1 treble crochet. Chain 2, 1 and 2, and then slip stitch into the top of that chain to join. 2 strands on the top of your hook, and chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn and pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. And that is the first one we have joined of the small circles. So now we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to join on 3 sides. 1, 2, and 3. So get your next small circle, pop your hook into any space, loop of your joining color on your hook, bring it through, slip stitch with both strands to join, drop your tail just holding it along the side of your work, and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Wrap your yarn and 2 double crochets into that same space. 1 and 2. Into the next space along the side, 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to start the corner into the next space, but then we're going to join in the middle of this corner. So 2 double crochets and 1 treble. 1 and 2. Wrap your yarn twice, 1 treble crochet. And now we are ready to join. So get your work laid out nicely in your workspace. And we're going to start joining here. So we're going to join all the way along here and along the top and along this side. So the 3 sides we're going to join. So starting in this corner space right there, put your hook down into your work, bring your yarn back and slip stitch, chain 1, and do your corner or finish your corner. So 1 treble crochet and 2 double crochets just to finish off that corner. Get everything laying flat again. And we're going to join right into this spot, right where that single crochet is after that corner. So hook down into your work, bring your yarn up and slip stitch to join. Now into the next space on the block we are working on, 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to slip stitch into the next space right there, down into your work, and slip stitch. Into the next space, we're going to start our corner. So 2 double crochets and 1 treble crochet, all into that same space. There's our 2 double crochets, and do your treble crochet. And now we're ready to join. So get everything nice and flat again so we can see where we're going into. And we're going to join right in between those 2 blocks, into the space between the blocks. So pop your hook down and bring your yarn up, slip stitch to join, and chain 1. Now into that same corner space, right there, 1 treble crochet, 2 double crochets, just to finish off that corner. 1 and 2. Get everything nice and flat. And into the next space, right where that single crochet is, slip stitch to join. And into the space, into the block we are joining, 4 single crochets. There is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're ready to join again, so get everything nice and flat so we can see where we're going. Move your hook forward so you can see that next space. Right there by that single crochet, we are going to go in and slip stitch to join. And now we're going to start our corner. So 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, and 1 treble crochet. So wrap your yarn twice and 1 treble crochet into that same space. There is your treble crochet. Get everything nice and flat. We always want to make sure we can see where we're working into. And now we're going to go in between these 2 blocks, right into that space, slip stitch to join. And chain 1. Now we're going to finish our corner, so get yourself situated. We always want our completed block up above us. And finish your corner, so 1 treble crochet and 2 double crochets. So there is your treble, and here is your double crochet and your second double crochet, just to finish off that corner. Just like that. And now get yourself situated again, everything laying nice and flat, and look for that next space by that single crochet. Just pop it into that space, pop your hook into that space, and slip stitch to join. And now into that space, we're going to do 4 single crochets. So just pop your hook in and 4 single crochets. Just do the side of that small circle. There's 2, 3, and 4. Get everything laying nice and flat, your finished block above you. Look for that next space right by the single crochet and slip stitch to join. And now we're going to finish off that corner. So 2 double crochets and 1 treble crochet. So there's 1 double crochet. Here is our second double crochet. And now we're doing our treble crochet just to finish that corner. Just like that. Now we are ready to join, so get everything laying flat and look for that corner space on the block we have finished. Just there, pop your hook down into your work, bring your yarn up, and slip stitch to join, and chain 1. You can rotate your work just so it's more comfortable, and we are going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3 to join. So just into the top of the chain, 2 strands on the top of your hook, and slip stitch to join. Chain 1 to secure your yarn, and cut your yarn long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through, and snug that down to secure. So now keep working your way along, joining the same way. Each of those small circles join on the 3 sides, all the way along your row. So pause the video and keep working along, joining all of your blocks, and I will meet you when you are finished this row. And now keep joining all of your big circles and then your small circles, row after row, until your blanket is the size you want it to be and you have joined up all of your circles. I'm going to be showing you two ways to do it. One, if you have finished joining all of your squares, so you have tails here, you don't have your yarn still joined. And I'm going to show you another way how to keep going with this same yarn you used to add your small circles to the edge of your blanket. So first I'm going to show you how to edge when you have already finished off your block completely. So we have done our chain one and finished our tail and everything. So we are finished joining this block right here, or this little circle. We are going to start just by popping our hook into this space on the side. So right where that single crochet is, just into that space. So loop of the yarn on your hook, slip stitch with both strands to join, drop your tail, but just pinch it along the back of your work so it doesn't get away from us. We want that stitch to stay that size. And now wrap your yarn and into the corner space, right down here, the corner of that little square block we made. We're going to do 2 double crochets into that corner space. So there is 1 and 2. You can pull that tail down a bit. That'll shrink up that stitch so that it behaves up there. And now into each stitch all the way along, 1 double crochet. So 1 double crochet into each stitch. And our first stitch is our chain. It is right here. So we're going to go just into the top of that chain. That is our first stitch. So 1 double crochet into the chain. And our second stitch is right here. So that front loop of the stitch is hanging down, and we have to join it up with that loop there at the back. So that is our second double crochet. 1 double crochet. And now all of our stitches look the same for the rest of this row. So each of these stitches is going to get 1 double crochet all the way along. So wrap your yarn and 1 double crochet into each stitch. You can pause the video and keep working along. 1 double crochet into each stitch all the way along. I'll meet you when we get to our corner. When you get closer to your corner, our last stitch is this guy right here, right there. So that is our last stitch. And now into our corner space, we want to do 2 double crochets into the corner space. So 1 and 2. So that finishes our row. And now we're going to slip stitch to join right into this space here. So not into the corner, but just that space right after. Right here, slip stitch to join. And chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now into this next space, right there, we're going to do 1 single crochet. 1 single crochet. That kind of leaves it a bit more looking like a stitch. And now turn your work. So our chain is going to count as our first double crochet. So that's going to count as 1. We're going to do our second double crochet into that corner space, or just this space down there. So 1 double crochet. And now 1 double crochet into each stitch all the way across the row. And our stitches just look like normal stitches this time. Nothing tricky. So 1 double crochet into each stitch. You can pause the video and I will meet you when you have done 1 double crochet into each stitch and we are closer to our corner. Now when we get to our corner, we are going to do our double crochet into this stitch here. Just 1 double crochet. And 1 double crochet into this little stitch where we started. That is our very first slip stitch. Just going to go right into that stitch and make 1 double crochet. And now into the next space, we are going to slip stitch to join. So 1 slip stitch to join and chain 2. 1 and 2. Now into this corner space at the top of our blanket or the very edge, we are going to single crochet to join and turn your work. Now into our slip stitch right here, that stitch that is joining. You can also work into the space. I just like to work into that stitch. I think it looks a little bit tidier. 1 double crochet. So you got to push your hook in and 1 double crochet. And now 1 double crochet into each stitch all the way along all of our row. So each stitch gets 1 double crochet. So 1 and 2. You can pause the video and keep working along. 1 double crochet into each stitch, and I will meet you when we get closer to the end of our row. When you get closer to the end of your row, we have these stitches left. So we have our last stitch is right here, and we also have our chain, that little guy there. So we're going to go into our last stitch. And now into this last stitch, right where we joined, we're going to do 2 double crochets to finish. So 1 and 2. But you can adjust that number depending on how many stitches you have for this last row, including our very first chain. So there is 1. We want to have a total of 20. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So just adjust your stitch counts. You end up with 20, and that will make it a lot easier for us to work on our border. And now slip stitch into that chain space to join. So slip stitch to join, chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. So that finishes off the edge of your blanket nice and straight. Don't worry about it going a little bit up in the center. We are going to fix that with our border, and it is going to be nice and snug and fantastic. So do this for all of your sides that you have joined completely. And now I'll show you how to do it if you haven't finished joining this square or this small circle. So if you are still joining your edge little blocks or your edge small circles and you haven't finished joining it yet, you don't have to cut your yarn. It will save you sewing in 2 tails. So it's not really the end of the world, but I will show you how to do it if you are putting in your small circles on your edges last. So after your last join, you've just slip stitched into the corner space of your big block or your blanket. Go in to the top of your chain on the block you are joining, and we're just going to slip stitch to join. So no chaining or anything. We want that a little bit nice and snug. And now chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Just like that. And now we're going to go in to that first spot, just like this, and slip stitch to join. Just like that. And now here our chain counts as our first double crochet. So we're going to do 1 more double crochet into that corner space. So 1 double crochet into the corner space. So that counts as our first 2 double crochets. Into the top of our chain, 1 double crochet, just like we did for the other one, if we were joining a new yarn. And now 1 double crochet into each stitch. So now you can pause the video and keep working along just like we did for our other joins, but that is how you can continue with the same yarn without joining a new yarn. So now finish edging all of your blanket till it is one big nice rectangle. To edge your Frankly Circles blanket, I'm going to show you how to just start this super simple edging. I'm going to be doing a separate tutorial for my entire border, but if you want to get just the correct stitch count, it can be a bit confusing where everything joins. I will show you how to get an even stitch count all the way around your blanket. For my blanket, I'm starting the border with white, but for this tutorial, I am going to be using turquoise, just so you can see the stitches a little bit easier. So just lay your blanket out in front of you, and we're going to join into any space right before our big circle. So any big circle at all, we're just going to join right before the big circle and right into that space. So pop your hook in, loop of your border color on your hook. If you aren't sure what you're doing with a border, just use the same color as you did for your blanket. Bring it through and slip stitch with both strands to join. Drop your tail and chain 1. Now into this very first stitch of our big circle, so we're not going to be working into the space, we're going to be going into that very first stitch right there. Just pop your hook in, 1 single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, so we're skipping this guy right here. We're going into the second stitch, 1 single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, so we're skipping this stitch and working in to the second, and we're going to be doing this all the way along our blanket. So single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet into the second. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet into the second, all the way along our blanket. The tricky parts come where we do our joins. So into the space, because we're still skipping 1, and into the space, 1 single crochet. So this is at the end of our circle. Chain 1, and we're going to work into this next stitch. We're going to go right into here and make our single crochet. So 1 single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, but it looks like we're skipping 2. So we have our chain, but technically we worked into it. We're skipping this stitch here and working in to our second right there. So this is where you have to pay a little bit of attention. So we worked into our chain, we're skipping our first stitch, and we're working in to our second right there. Chain 1, skip 1, and into the second, 1 single crochet. Chain 1, skip 1, into the second, 1 single crochet. So now we're into the edging part. This is super easy because all of our stitches are the same. There's no spaces or anything, so just keep working along. Single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, all the way along our edging section. And now just keep going, chaining 1, skipping 1, and 1 single crochet into the second stitch, all the way along this section until we get to our join. At our join, we're going to work into the space before our big circle. So now we're at a big circle. We're always going to work into the space before the big circle. So 1 single crochet into the space before the big circle, chain 1, and we're going to work into the first stitch after or of the big circle. So we're not going to work into the space. We're going to go into that stitch right there. So pop your hook into that first stitch of the big circle, 1 single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, all the way along the edge of your big circle. You can pause the video if I am working along too fast. Just doing a chain 1, skip 1, all the way along this side of your big circle. I'm going to show you what we do when we get to our corner. So there is single crochet, chain 1, skipping 1, so into that corner space. If you have a tail, we can of course work over it. So 1 single crochet into the corner space, chain 2, 1 and 2, and into the very same corner space, 1 single crochet. Chain 1, and now we're going to skip 2. So we're going to skip these 2 stitches after our corner. So we're going to work into the third, and this is only after our corner spaces. So skipping 2 and into the third, 1 single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, 1 single crochet into the second, chain 1, skip 1, 1 single crochet into the second, all the way along until you reach our next corner. So chaining 1, skipping 1, and 1 single crochet, chaining 1, skipping 1, and we are right into our next corner. So into our corners of our blankets, 1 single crochet, chain 2, and 1 single crochet. That's all into the corner space. And now we're going to skip 2. So we're going to work into our 3rd stitch. Only after our corners are we skipping 2. We're going right into that stitch right there. So do your chain 1, skipping 2 this time, and 1 single crochet into the 3rd. So that gets us around our corner. Our corners will look like this of our blanket, and we have a nice spot to work the rest of our border. And if you're just ending your blanket like this, it's also a nice solid finished edge. So now you can pause the video and just keep working around, doing your single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, all the way along your blanket. Always working in to the space at the end of our circles and into the first stitch after our big circles, all the way along your blanket. Corners we'll be doing just like this, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and skipping 2. So pause the video, keep working around, and I will see you when you have finished this edge of your blanket. So I hope you enjoyed making your Frankly Circles blanket. I can't wait to see the colors you chose. I'm waiting for you in that video right there, and stay hooked.